Good day, everyone. Today I will be discussing the Impressionism. At the end of this lesson, the students will be able to determine the Impressionists and their artworks. But before that, I will first discuss the academic arts. So, what is academic arts? It is a style of painting, sculpture, and architecture and produced under the influence of European Academy of Art. Artists influenced by the standards of the French Académie des Beaux-Arts, which was practiced under the movements of Neoclassicism and Romanticism. So it is traditionally used to describe the style of true-to-life but high-minded realist painting and sculpture, championed by the European Academies of Art, notably the French Academy of Fine Arts. In Impressionism, is a style in which the artist captures the image of an object as someone would see if they just caught glimpse of it. The paint the pictures they paint the pictures with a lot of color, and most of their pictures are outdoor scenes since their pictures are very bright and vibrant. Impressionism developed in France in 19th century and is based on the practice of painting out of doors and spontaneously on the spot rather than in a studio from the sketches. Main impressionist subjects were landscapes and scenes of everyday life. The style taught by academic teachers was known as academic art. Students began with drawing, first from prints or drawings of classical Greek sculpture or the paintings of old masters such as Michelangelo and Raphael of the High Renaissance era. The term Impressionism comes from a painting by Claude Monet, which he showed in an exhibition with the name Impression sur le Levant. An art critic called Louis Leroy saw the exhibition and wrote a review in which he said that all the paintings were just impressions. So, another additional of main idea of Impressionism rebelled against classical subject that matter and embraced modernity, desiring to create works that reflected the world in which they lived. Uniting them was a focus on how light could define a moment in time, with color, color providing definition instead of black lines. A style or movement in painting originating in France in 1860s. Painting shows life subject painted in a broad, rapid style with brush strokes that are easily seen and colors that are often bright. Is a 19th century movement known for its paintings that aimed to depict the transience of light and to capture scenes of modern life and the natural world in their ever. Impressionism in art appreciation is a 19th century art movement characterized by relatively small thin yet visible brush strokes, open composition, emphasis of accurate depictions of light. The object of Impressionism is a simile to reality. So, as I said earlier, it is a true to life basis. It only takes a moment to form an impressionism. It is a wholly subjective experience based on the previous events in which we take the external world and internalize it. The purpose of Impressionism was a radical art movement that began in the late 1800s, centered primarily around Parisian painters. Impressionists rebelled against classical subject matter and embraced modernity, desiring to create works that reflected the world in which they lived. What makes an art impressionist? The thing is, impressionist artists were not trying to paint a reflection of real life. but an impression of what the person, light, atmosphere, object, or landscape looked like to them, and that's why they were called Impressionists. Then, the father of Impressionism and was developed by Claude Monet and other Paris-based artists from early 1860s, is perhaps the most famous of the Impressionist painters. While the movement takes its name from one of his paintings, he was not the first to paint in a style that would become known as Impressionism. The techniques of Impressionism. First, the Impressionists strongly emphasized the effects of light in their paintings. They used short, thick strokes of paint to capture the essence of the object rather than the subject details. And third, quickly applied brush strokes give the painterly illusion of movement and spontaneity. Let's move on to the French Impressionist. We have Camille Pissarro, Edouard Manet, Edgar Degas, Alfred Sisley, Paul Cézanne, Claude Monet, Berthe Morisot, and Pierre-Auguste Renoir. So first we have Claude Monet, acknowledged leader of French Impressionism, devoted to plain arism in his lifelong pursuit to master the depiction of light. He is best known for his Water Lily series of paintings, created in his garden at Giverny. So as we familiarize the paint or the artworks of Claude Monet, Water Lily is one of his artworks that was um, co- uh, the his best known artworks. So he born on November 14, 1840 in Paris, France, and died on December 5, 1926 at the age of 86. And the artwork of Claudette Monet, wa- uh, one of them is Woman in the Garden. Woman in the Garden is an oil painting begun in 1866 by French artist Claudette Monet when he was 26. It is a large work painted and plain air the size of canvas, necessitated Monet painting its upper. So as we observe in the illustration, na, uh, na ay uh, um, lady or a woman in the garden. Mao ni iyang na-captured based on his um, sense that applied to his work. And second, we have Impression Sunrise. Impression Sunrise is a painting by Claude Monet first shown at what would become known as the Exhibition of Impressionists in Paris in April 1874. The painting is credited with inspiring the name of Impressionist movement. Impression Sunrise depicts the port of Le Havre, Monet's hometown. Next, we have Woman with a Parasol, Madame Monet and Her Son. Woman with a Parasol, Madame Monet and Her Son, sometimes known as The Stroll, is an oil-on-canvas painting by Claudette Monet from 1875. So, commonly gid no, ang gamiton din nila is oil-on-canvas painting. So, as we observe here in the illustration, there's woman, woman with a parasol, and together with Madame Monet and her son. Next, Edouard Manet. After Le Déjeuner Herbie, and Olympia were both rejected by the Salon, he became the hero of the younger generation of Parisian painters, remained a classicist at heart, and spent the rest of his life repairing his links with the Salon, regarded as the father of modern painting in France. So, mao ni siya, si Edouard Manet. Panganak siya pagka January 23, 1832 in Paris, France. Ug namatay po siya pagka April 30, 1883 at the age of 51. So, his artwork his artwork is the Legionnaire Sorrel Herbie Luncheon on the Grass. So, mo na yung iyang artworks nga na nakuan pod no, iyang nahimo pagka 1862 and 1863. So, and next we have Berthe Morisot, a pupil of Corot de Chimette Manet, married his brother Eugene, an exhibit in all but one of the group's exhibitions. Regarded as the greatest female impressionist, her daughter married the French expressionist George Rolt. So she born on January 14, 1841 in Bourgestre in France. She is a French and she known for painting the Crowd View Paris from the Trocadero after lunch summer days. So next we have the art no this one of the artwork of Berthe Morisot is the Cradle. Cradle is arguably Berthe Morisot's most famous painting. It depicts on Morisot's sisters Edma gazing down at her daughter Blanche, who is asleep in a cradle behind a gauzy veil. So atong na-observe diri no nga kaning bata diri like gitan-aw siya sa natug na baby in the cradle. So, proceed moving on. Alfred Sisley. Born in Paris to English parents, he took part in 5 of the group exhibitions, remaining a faithful exponent of outdoor Impressionism for the rest of his life. He was born on October 30, 1839 in Paris, France, and died on January 29, 1899 at the age of 59. He is a British man. And the artwork of Alfred Sisley, the bridge at Villeneuve-la-Garenne. The bridge at Villeneuve-la-Garenne is an 1872 painting by Alfred Sisley, now the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So, next we have Pierre Auguste Renoir. Originally a porcelain decorator, he took lessons at Charles Glaire's studio, where he met Monet, Bazille, and Sisley, exhibit numerous impressionist shows, and also the Salon. In 1879, became the movement's greatest painter of dappled light before going his own way in the 1880s. So he was born February 25, 1841 in Limoges, France, and died on December 3, 1919 at the age of 78. So one of his famous artwork of Pere Auguste Renoir is the Lantern of the Boating Party. So Lantern of the Boating Party is a painting by French Impressionist Pere Auguste Renoir, included in the 7 Impressionist exhibitions. In 1882, it was identified as the best painting in the show by 3 critics. So as we observe na ay as we observe na nangaon sila diri like na ang mga mga handa nila din parang naay party gani nga nahitabo nay mga salo-salo ganon mao nang iyang na-captured ug iyang gihimo na-inspired siya paghimo aning ah kani nga no image. Next we have Camille Pissarro. Studied at the French Academy of Fine Arts, was a lifelong anarchist and plein air painter of cityscapes and landscapes. He was born on July 10, 1830, and he died on November 13, 1903, at the age of 73. One of artwork of Camille Pissarro is the Point Pontoise. The Harvest Pontoise is a late 19th painting by Dano French artist Camille Pissarro done in oil canvas. The work depicts a group of French farmers gathering the potatoes. So, atong nakita diri mga farmers na nag-gather og potatoes diri sa iyang pen nga ah, iyang na-captured ug iyang na-inspire siya sa pag-paint ani mao ni iyang nahimo nga artwork. Um, so moving on in Edgar Degas. Edgar Degas, unlike most others, he had independent means and did not need to sell his works to survive. Even so, he became the greatest figure painter of the moment. So, di niya kailangan na mabaligya ay uh, mga artworks or iyang mga works para ma-survive. So, marag independent siya na tao. Charot. He was born on July 19, 1834 in Paris, France, and died on September 27, 1917 at the age of 83. One of his artworks of Edgar Degas is the tub. Nearly a quarter of subjects sculpted by Degas show women at their toilet. Here, the painter of modern life has taken a fresh look at a bathing scene, which so inspired the artists of Renaissance. So as we observe here in the illustration, so naay babae na maligo or naligo, og iyang kining og na-inspire siya sa paghimo ani nga art. So, Paul Cézanne, moving on into Paul Cézanne, another impressionist. He failed the entrance exams to the French Academy of Fine Arts, befriended by Pissarro. He exhibited with the group only twice before pursuing his own style of post-impression. So, he was born in January 19, 1839 in Provence, France, and died at the age of 67. So, one of his artwork of Paul Cézanne is the Basket of Apples. Basket of Apples is a still life oil painting by French artist Paul Cézanne. It belongs to the Helen Birch Bartlett Memorial Collection of the Art Institute of Chicago. The piece is often noted for its disjointed perspective. So na ay mga prutas, apple ay na plenty of apples in the basket. O mao ni iya pod na captured og iyang gihimo in 1895. So, Impressionism. These are the examples of Impressionism artworks that was developed by a lot of Impressionists in that time. So atong na-observe no kanang um murag reality gyud siya, based on reality gyud ang iyang paint na ato siyang na-impress through the art na nakatalented ang mga tao. Sunod nakita nato dire ang kanindot sa flowers sa city and ani ng air environment adyo sa ganon may uban pod nga artwork nga nahimo sa mga artist. Impressionism. So in post impressionism, so nakita na po nato diri ang kalain-lain na mga artworks nga based sa ilang nakita ug ilang gihimo na-inspired sila paghimuan. So kani murag na as wait, like kani a girl diri murag anod na babae ug diri murag like tambayan lang ng mga plaza nga na-captured sa uban ng mga artist, kalain-lain nga mga artist. So daghan pa na. Sunod niya pa na si Christ, darang example nato nga apples na diri nga part ani apart, then si Christ, so no to. Then why Impressionism is important. Impressionism was a radical movement that began in the late 1860s, centered primarily around Parisian painters. Impressionists rebelled against classical subject matter and embraced modernity, desiring to create works that reflected the world in which they lived. The Impressionists created a model for freedom and subjectively that promoted artistic freedom, that which many artists of the past longed for. When the French Impressionists started painting in the early 1800s, they were creating a radical new style and approach to art, painting many different colors to create a unified impression of what they saw, especially to convey how light affected to the image. So how Impressionism changed the world. So Impressionist artists showcase a new way to observe and depict the world in this work, foregoing realistic portrayals for fleeting impressions of their surroundings. So importante gyud pod ang Impressionism sa atong world. So I hope you learned something about this topic about Impressionism, and I hope you will able to gain additional knowledge for you to understand what is Impressionism and the artists in their different artworks. Thank you and bye.